Runaway Ralph, Chapter 4, page 89. "Sounds good," said Ralph. "Maybe to a mouse." There was a touch of scorn in Chum's voice. "We rode in a bus to this camp, where a counselor put together a makeshift cage out of a bucket with a piece of screen bent over the top. After a few days, the girls' family arrives. There was quite a fuss when the parents saw that their daughter owned a hamster, but her two little brothers set up such a howl that once more I was stuffed into a box with so-called air holes, and after more bouncing and jouncing I arrived at the family's house, where I was put into this cage, where I have lived ever since, poked out with pencils whenever the children's horrid little friends come over to play, fed hamster food full of nasty little alfalfa pellets that I keep shoving out of my cage. You'd think they would catch on after a while, but no, they just keep on feeding me food mixed with alfalfa pellets. The worst part of my life is that I never get a full day's sleep. Someone's always moving the cage to dust, rattling something against the bars, running the vacuum cleaner, practicing violin lessons. It's not an easy life, let me tell you." "But how did you get back to camp?" Ralph wanted to know. "Last year, when Lana was packing her duffel bag for camp, her mother said that since the people who ran the camp had let me buy her, they could put up with me for 2 weeks. She was tired of reminding Lana to feed me and clean my cage, and she wanted a vacation herself. She said the same thing this year, so here I am at camp for the 3rd time. Oh well, at least it's a change, and nobody runs a vacuum cleaner or practices the violin near my cage." Ralph was silent. Chum had given him a lot to think about. Like Chum, he sat swinging to and fro on his wheel, swinging and thinking. And as he swung and thought, something caught his eye. It was the striped forepaw of Catso, reaching through the hole in the rusty screen door. Ralph watched in frightened fascination. The screen bulged from the pressure of Catso's shoulder as the paws groped and searched. The rusted screen stretched, and the evil paw, with its claw unsheathed, reached farther into the craft shop. "Where's Sam?" thought Ralph in terror. "Why isn't that watchdog watching?" The paw withdrew, and Catso's face pressed into the hole. His evil green eyes searched the craft shop. Ralph shrank into a ball in the farthest corner of his cage until he heard a short bark from Sam and summoned his courage to look around. Catso was gone, but the hole in the rusty screen remained. Chapter 5. The Personal Mouse. Ralph's life in the cage was never the same after the arrival of the hamster. Chum was picky about his food and fussy about his housekeeping. One corner of his cage had to be his bathroom, another his sleeping quarters, a third the storehouse for the food he liked. He was forever pushing, shoving, and stomping his cedar shavings. His exercise wheel rasped and creaked whenever he ran, usually while Ralph was trying to nap. He had a particularly irritating way of gnawing noisily at the bars of his cage. "Why do you do that?" asked Ralph. "You can't chew through metal." "I'm not trying to chew through the bars," said Chum. "I'm wearing down my teeth." Ralph was astounded. "Don't you want teeth?" he asked, thinking how dependent he was upon his own sharp teeth. "If I don't chew something hard, my teeth will grow so long I won't be able to eat," Chum explained impatiently. "I chew the bars because Lana's too stupid to give me anything hard to chew on." "Oh," said Ralph, grateful that his teeth did not continue to grow. Chum had another habit that disturbed Ralph. He nipped at Lana whenever she tried to pick him up. "That's not nice," said Ralph one day, when he'd seen Lana hastily withdraw her hand from her pet's cage. "That's biting the hand that feeds you." "I have some rights," said Chum. "If I let Lana pick me up, I would never have any peace. Believe me, I know. I made the mistake of letting her pick me up just once, and when she tried to stuff me into a doll's sweater, I knew once was enough." Chum also sat for long periods of time swinging gently on his wheel and staring with unblinking eyes at nothing at all. "Why do you sit there like that?" asked Ralph, who liked to be busy when he was awake. "I'm thinking," answered Chum. "Thinking about what?" Ralph wanted to know. "I'm a philosopher," said Chum. "I think about life." "Life?" Ralph was puzzled. "What do you mean?" Chum sat staring into space so long that Ralph thought he was never going to answer. Finally, the hamster said, "Take you, for instance. Where do you think you're going on that wheel?" "No place, I guess," admitted Ralph. I never thought much about it." "See what I mean?" said Chum. "You run, and you're still in the same old cage." Ralph felt suddenly guilty, as if he'd done something wrong, but was not sure what it was. "But I like running on my wheel," he said, feeling that his answer was rather lame. Chum did not bother to reply. He continued to sit, swinging, staring, thinking. Ralph leaped to his wheel and began to run. His paws flew along the wires of the wheel, pushing it faster and faster until he looped the loop. He ran on and on until he began to tire. His paws touched the wires more and more slowly until Ralph coasted to a stop. Then he, too, sat staring and motionless. Where was he going? No place. That was where he was going. No place at all. With so many people feeding him, he was not even sure who owned him. Perhaps when the camp closed at the end of summer, he would be turned out to the mercy of Catso and all those kittens. "Drat Chum and his talk about life," thought Ralph crossly. "He spoiled all my fun." Chum had still another habit disturbing to Ralph. Whenever his owner approached him with a bag of sunflower seeds, Chum suddenly appeared to change from a grouch into an agreeable pet. He climbed to the top of his cage, accepted sunflower seeds one by one, and stuffed them into his cheek pouches. Feeding sunflower seeds to Chum became a daily event in the craft shop. The older campers and some of the counselors gathered around Lana to watch her feed Chum, and as she handed him the seeds, they would count 14, 15. Ralph watched while Chum's cheek pouches began to bulge. 22, 23. Still Chum's face stretched. The old show-off, thought Ralph. 27, 28. Chum had grown so top-heavy that Ralph was sure he would never make it to 30. 30, 31, chanted the campers. Chum was having such difficulty hanging on, Ralph scarcely could bear to watch. 33. The paws were slipping. 34. Chum could no longer support his weight. He fell to the bottom of his cage with a thump that made Ralph cringe. 34, shouted Lana, who enjoyed the attention her pet had received from older boys and girls. "That's Chum's record." "Maybe he'll hit 35 tomorrow," someone said, as the campers lost interest in the hamster, and went off to their riding lessons or back to their craft work. Chum got to his feet rather groggily and went to the storehouse corner of his cage, where by placing his front paws behind his cheek pouches, he pushed the seeds out of his mouth until they lay in a heap at his feet. Ralph was disapproving of the whole performance. "That's quite an act," he remarked. "Doesn't it hurt when you fall to the bottom of the cage?" "Sure it hurts," said Chum, as he pushed out the last sunflower seed. "But it's worth it." "Just to show off?" asked Ralph. "No, stupid," said Chum. "For the sunflower seeds. Sunflower seeds that I don't have to pick out from a lot of alfalfa pellets. I perform, she pays off in seeds. That's the way it goes." "Yeah, but you get hurt," said Ralph. "I hate alfalfa pellets," answered Chum simply. Ralph's turn came after lunch, when the campers were in the dining hall singing a song that they obviously enjoyed, but that Ralph found frightening. "Bill Grogan's goat was feeling fine. He ate 3 shirts right off the line." Garf silently pushed open the screen door, and Ralph leaped from his wheel. Quickly, Garf unlatched the door of the cage and extended a sunflower seed with his fingers. This time he was not singing, but Ralph still did not trust him. "Come on, fellow," coaxed Garf. Ralph retreated to the corner of his cage behind his exercise wheel. "Maybe next time," whispered Garf, and hurriedly cleaned the cage and refilled the water bottle while the campers sang on. "The whistle blew, the train drew nigh. Bill Grogan's goat was soon to die. He gave 3 groans of mortal pain, coughed off the shirts, and flagged the train." When the song was finished, the housekeeping for Ralph was completed, and Garf had slipped quickly and silently out of the craft shop without letting the screen door slam or squeak. Ralph stood on his hind legs, holding the bars of his cage with his front paws, and wishing Garf were a different kind of boy. Almost at once the screen door opened again, and Aunt Jill, with her arm around Garf's shoulders, brought the boy back in. "Sit down, Garf," she said, and sat on a bench beside him, one of the work tables. Scowling, the boy obeyed. "What's the trouble, Garf?" asked Aunt Jill kindly. What does she mean? Ralph wondered. Garf stared at the floor. "You know you've been breaking one of the camp rules," said Aunt Jill. "Campers are not supposed to come into the craft shop without permission, unless I am here or one of the counselors." "So that's why he's always in a hurry," thought Ralph. "He isn't supposed to be in here. He not only likes bloodthirsty songs, he breaks rules." Garf continued to stare at the floor. "Is there anything we can do to help?" persisted the camp director. "No," said Garf suddenly, "because I'm going to run away and nobody is going to stop me." Aunt Jill appeared to take this news calmly, but for some reason Ralph did not.